The Russian president expressed a number of considerations aimed at the earliest possible political diplomatic resolution of the Iranian conflict, including in light of contacts held with the leaders of the Gulf countries, with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, and with the leaders of several other countries.
Can you tell us more about your call with Russian President Vladimir Putin today?
Yes.
What did you discuss?
Yes, I had a very good call with President Putin. And it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder.
On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No.
Has Russian President Vladimir Putin pressured Donald Trump into finally deciding that the Iran war must end soon, with the US leader's sudden shift in tone coming right after a tense phone call between the two? Trump's big announcement about wanting to wind down the conflict followed just hours after his conversation with Putin, fueling speculation that Moscow pushed Washington to step back from the brink. Even as leaders talk about de-escalation, Iran launched what it called the 33rd wave of missiles at Israel, continuing its barrage as Mojtaba Khamenei consolidates power as the new supreme leader. Israel is witnessing more death and destruction on the ground, with reports that its defenses have again struggled to stop all incoming Iranian missiles, leading to fresh casualties and damage. At the same time, the US military's death toll in the region continues to rise, as American forces find it increasingly difficult to contain Iran's expanding campaign of missile and drone attacks at US President Donald Trump spoke by phone with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin on March 9th. The call took place at a moment when Washington and Israel are waging a major war against Moscow's close ally Iran. The call took place just hours after Iran announced overnight on March 8th to 9th that slain Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, had been formally named as his successor in Tehran. Lasting around 1 hour, the conversation was the first direct contact between Trump and Putin since December 2025, underscoring how serious the Iran crisis has become. Moscow later stated that it was Washington that requested the talks, even as the separate war in Ukraine continues to rage and strain relations between the two powers. During the call, Putin urged Trump to pursue a quick political, diplomatic settlement to the Iran confrontation, signaling Russia's concern about a wider regional explosion. Only hours later, Trump told reporters at a press conference that the Iran war would end very soon, prompting speculation that the call with Putin had influenced his tone. He insisted that the United States was achieving major strides in meeting its military objectives inside Iran, framing the campaign as close to accomplishing its goals. Trump also claimed that Iran now has no leadership and that it's all been blown up, rhetoric clearly aimed at stressing the impact of strikes that killed Ali Khamenei. According to a report in the Wall Street Journal, Trump has privately indicated that he would support killing Iran's new leader Mojtaba Khamenei, as well if he refuses to comply with US demands.
Doing all of these things, we're achieving major strides toward completing our military objective. And some people could say they're pretty well complete. We've wiped every single force in Iran out very completely. Most of Iran's naval power has been sunk. It's on the bottom of the sea. It's almost 50 ships. I was just notified it's 51 ships. I didn't know they had that many. Didn't last very long. And these are fighting vessels. They're meant to fight, but they're not meant to fight against us. We continue to target Iran's drone and missile capabilities. Their drones are way down. Their drone manufacturing's been hit starting today. We know all of the places they manufacture the drones, and they're being hit one after another. Their missile capability is down to about 10%, maybe less. We're also hitting where they make missiles and where they deliver missiles. We've struck over 5,000 targets to date, some of them very major targets, and we've left some of the most important targets for later in case we need to do it. If we hit them, it's going to take many years for them to be rebuilt. Iran's a very powerful country. They were going to take over the Middle East. If we did not hit them, they were going to take over the Middle East. They had thousands and thousands since their last hit. They had thousands and thousands of missiles and everything else. Most are now destroyed. But they were going to take over the Middle East. Those weapons were aimed at Middle Eastern countries that had nothing to do with this. They were going to take over the Middle East, and they were going to try and destroy Israel. So we stopped it with good timing, and we're very proud to be involved in this, and it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder. Thank you very much for being here. Go ahead. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Do you approve of Iran's new supreme leader? And secondly, can you tell us more about your call with Russian President Vladimir Putin today?
Yes.
What did you discuss?
Yes, I had a very good call with President Putin. We had a lot of people on the line from our side, from his side. We were talking about Ukraine, which is just a never-ending fight. And look, there's tremendous hatred between President Putin and President Zelensky. They can't seem to get it together. But I think it was a positive call on that subject. And we obviously talked then about the Middle East. And he wants to be helpful. I said, you could be more helpful by getting the Ukraine-Russia war over with. That would be more helpful. But we had a very good talk, and he wants to be very constructive. Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to...
soon. Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership. In fact, there are two levels of leadership, and even actually, as it turns out, more than that. But two levels of leadership are gone. Most people have never even heard about the leaders that they're talking about. So it's obviously been very, very powerful, very effective.
Tonight, there was a phone conversation between the presidents of Russia and the U.S. Donald Trump called Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin to discuss a number of extremely important issues related to the current international situation. Naturally, the focus was on the situation surrounding the conflict with Iran and the ongoing trilateral negotiations on the Ukrainian settlement involving U.S. representatives. I will say right away that the conversation was businesslike, frank, and constructive, as usually happens in dialogue between the Russian and American leaders. They have not spoken on the phone for a long time. The last time was at the end of December 2025. Today's conversation, by the way, lasted about an hour. The U.S. President noted that, as agreed previously, such communication should take place on a regular basis. Both leaders said they are ready for this. The Russian president expressed a number of considerations aimed at the earliest possible political diplomatic resolution of the Iranian conflict, including in light of contacts held with the leaders of the Gulf countries, with Iranian President Massoud Pezeshkian, and with the leaders of several other countries. In turn, the U.S. president provided his assessment of the situation in the context of the ongoing U.S.-Israeli operation. I would note that this was a very substantive and useful conversation. President Trump again expressed interest in bringing the conflict in Ukraine to a rapid ceasefire and achieving a long-term settlement. On our side, a positive assessment was expressed regarding the mediation efforts undertaken by Donald Trump's team and by him personally. An overview was given of the current situation on the line of contact, where Russian forces are advancing quite successfully. This, it was noted, is a factor that should finally prompt the Kiev regime to move toward a negotiated settlement of the conflict. The presidents also touched on the issue of Venezuela, primarily in terms of the state of affairs in the global oil market. Overall, I repeat, dear colleagues, the conversation was very substantive and will undoubtedly have practical significance for the further work of the two countries in various areas of international politics.
Meanwhile, on the night of March 9th to 10th, Iran announced that it had launched its 33rd missile attack against Israel since the war began, showing no sign of backing down. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said it fired Kibar-Shikam ballistic missiles equipped with 1-ton warheads, claiming they were aimed at critical Israeli targets. Israel reported on March 9th that one person was killed and 2 others were wounded in an earlier Iranian attack using cluster warheads, highlighting the growing civilian toll. On the same day, the U.S. military confirmed that its own death count in the Iran war had risen to 8, as American troops continue to come under fire across the Middle East.